Good morning YouTube, what's up? My name is Chase Marks and today's video is going to be a little different considering I'm using this video for a class I am in. This video is for my grammar and language class. Shout out to my professor Doc. For our final project we had an option to make something creative, and as you may see already, I like to make videos. So I jumped at that opportunity, and with this video I have written a paper over the topic how the LGBT community is changing English language and how people speak to one another. Without further ado, let's get into some statistics. So recently there was a study done where a survey was taken in the US and the UK to see how many people identified as something other than straight, meaning everyone who answered this had to pick, do they identify as heterosexual or anything but that. And the results that came back were that over 50% of those surveyed answered the anything but heterosexual, which is extremely interesting to think about considering a while ago I heard that 10% of the United States or possibly the world, don't coin me on that, I don't remember exactly, but I heard that 10% of people were LGBT in one way or another. And now we're finding out that over 50% of people in two majorly populated countries are identifying as something other than straight or heterosexual. And that just leaves me to think that maybe half of the world could possibly identify as something along the LGBTQ+ spectrum, which is extremely groundbreaking. So when I use words like queer, homosexual, heterosexual, gay, etc., typically people kind of spurk up a bit and they're like, what? Did you just use the word queer? Because it is typically used as a very negative word, or it was. Back in the 19th century when it was coined, the term queer specifically meant to be off-centered, to be strange, to be wrong, to be unruly, just completely unnatural. Now the term queer is being reclaimed by the LGBT+ community as an umbrella term. The term queer now means you are under this massive umbrella, meaning you could be gay, you could be a lesbian, you could be bisexual, you could be transgender, you could be agender, you could be asexual, you could be non-binary. And all of those things kind of go under the whole term queer. And to the LGBT community today, the term queer means something other than straight or other than cisgendered. Another term that has been reclaimed by the LGBT community, specifically the gay community of gay cis men have reincorporated this word, is the term homosexual. It was created back in the, I think, 18th century by being coined by a German who said the word homosexual meant what it still means today, to be attracted to someone of the same sex. How it was being used back then though, although people were saying, oh, you're a homosexual, meaning you like people of the same gender or sex as you, which is still what it's used as today, they were using it in such a negative connotation that they were basically saying, oh, you are of a natural love, you are of incest, and you are a homosexual, therefore you are this awful entity. Whereas today, people are more openly saying, yes, I'm homosexual, I like people of the same sex, like, what's it to ya? And that's another way that the LGBT community has reclaimed these words that have for very long periods of time been used negatively against us. And in some cases still are today, like the term queer, for example. There's a difference between when someone's saying, oh, yes, I'm queer, I like men, women, all of the above, all of the rest. And then there's also a difference when someone is saying, oh, you're a queer, and they also have nothing to do with the community. So there still can be that negative connotation on it, or that verbal abuse where the word is being used against someone who identifies as such. But thankfully things seem to be calming down a bit than how they used to be. Something interesting to take note of is with these terms, they are all self-made by the community. A scholar named Gabriel Rotello actually said in an essay that all these words, heterosexual, homosexual, gay, lesbian, bi, transgender, non-binary, demisexual, etc. have all been created by the LGBT community in attempts to name ourselves or to identify ourselves and in order to make ourselves more visible for others to see us. If we just walked around and we had no terms to describe our attractions, our gender, our presentation, then no one would know what to call us. For example, I identify as non-binary or trans non-binary. I use they, them pronouns, but when you look at me, you would say, oh, she's a girl. So I have created this identity, this trans non-binary identity to say like, no, I identify as this, meaning I might look like a girl or I might sound like a girl, but I'm not one. Instead, I am this person who identifies as non-binary, therefore I don't identify with any specific gender. I'm just being in the world as myself. These words didn't just show up, they were created by the LGBT community in attempts to get the rest of the world to hear us, to see us, to understand us in some way or another. And now is the moment we've all been waiting for. The whole conversation cannot be just about words that the community uses to talk about ourselves. It also has something to do with the pronouns that we use. And for some reason, the rest of the world can get with the words queer, homosexual, gay, lesbian, bi, transgender, demisexual, and all of the rest that is under the queer umbrella. But for some reason, society has a hard time with pronouns. There are so many arguments when it comes to pronouns. Typically in English books, all you see is he, him, his, she, her, hers, and the plural, they, them, theirs. What society is failing to understand is that the term they, them, theirs can also be used singularly towards one person, hence myself. I use they, them pronouns. When someone is saying, oh, Chase, yes, she is doing this, that is completely incorrect because I am not a girl. But if they were to say, oh yes, Chase, they are really good at cooking chili, like, there's nothing incorrect about that because I use they, them pronouns. There's also those grammar Nazis who come through and they're like, oh, you can't use they as a singular pronoun, it's only for plural people. How many people are we talking about? And yes, I am quoting many people who have spoken to me in life. And the crazy thing is you can use it. In fact, they, them pronouns have been used for over 600 years as a singular gender-neutral pronoun, which is, I'm just gonna carry a book around that says, yes, you can use this as a gender-neutral pronoun for one person. Another thing is that there's more than just these three types of pronouns. There's he, him, his, she, her, hers, they, them, theirs. But new pronouns have been created and they are available for you to use and for society to use. They just need a little work. People need to start understanding that things aren't always going to remain how they have been for hundreds of years. So for the purpose of this video, I am attaching a list of pronouns right here for you to look at. Thank you to the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee for giving me that beautiful list of pronouns there. And in order to wrap this video up, I want to touch on where are we going. We have already come from the 17th, 18th, and 19th century of creating these slang words that have negative connotations when talking about the LGBT+ community. Then we come into the 1980s when really the whole reconstruction of these words and the reclaiming of these words really started to break ground. And people started calling themselves queer in a positive way, or homosexual in a positive way, or gay in a positive way. And the terms like faggot and fag and, you know, dyke and stuff started to actually make a comeback in these positive terms when used towards someone who actually identifies as them by someone who also is within the community. Now we are in the year of 2019, and we have people who identify themselves as butches, as dykes, as faggots, as gay men, as lesbians, as non-binary people, as transgender, and we are all so empowered by our own language and our own pronouns and our own just involvement in our own ways of talking to one another. Moving forward, I just have a couple of last points. Someone named Anna Schwartz from a website called MIC or MIC, I'm not really sure what which one it is. This person wrote in an article that they predict in the future the LGBTQ+ community is just going to grow and expand. Anna's prediction was that moving forward, millennials are already identifying as something under the queer umbrella more than anybody has in the past. And they are more likely to identify outside of the gender binary of male or female and be along somewhere on the whole spectrum or even off the spectrum. And the coolest thing is that this Anna has then predicted that the Gen Z population is also going to be our queerest and our more gender diverse population since the world has created. So with all of this being said, I think it's safe to say that 50% of people in the US and the UK that identified as something other than straight or heterosexual are just a moving ground. We're all just moving forward. Soon that percentage is gonna come up. Soon that percentage is gonna have also gender diversity included in it. I would like to thank you for watching this video on how the LGBT community is changing language. I would like you to take a moment to think about what are some words or what are some things that you identify with and you would use these as descriptors for you that maybe have not always meant what you use them for. And with that, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day and enjoy.